Hey guys, Happy New Year, welcome in. So this is a video that I've actually recorded a few times. I've deleted it, I've overthought it, but I'm finally just doing this and I'm going to do it without a script, just off the top of my head. So I'm going to be talking about my crystal journey and how it led me to start my crystal business. First and foremost, if you like this type of content and you want to keep learning more about crystals or starting a crystal business for yourself, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment so I know what type of content you guys would like to see in the future. Now let's just go ahead and dive in. I am going to try to keep it short, but please keep in mind there are so many details that I can't share for the sake of keeping the video nice and concise, but I'm going to try to share the basics or what I think are the most important points. So in order to really understand my journey, we're going to have to go back a few years. This is end of 2017, early 2018. I came into what I consider my spiritual awakening. I know that sounds kind of cliche. Everyone says it, but for me, it really was coming into my individuality and finding my spiritual side again, because I had became pretty much very faithless. I was in a very dark place. I was 60 pounds heavier than what I am now. I literally looked older. I was in a very, very toxic relationship. I had toxic people around me, toxic coworkers, and so much more. So I started to learn about meditation, manifestations, and different things, all the things us spiritual girls love to talk about. On this journey, I started to also learn about ancient civilizations, and I came across ancient civilizations and crystals. Both of those things were very interesting to me, and I started to learn more and more every day. As I was going through this awakening, I also remembered that about 2 years prior to that, my dad actually bought me my very first crystal. I had 2 crystal necklaces. I don't know why I did that, that's 4, but I had 2 crystal necklaces that my dad brought me from Mexico that I really never used. Luckily, I had them tucked away in a jewelry box, and they were pretty much just sitting there waiting for me to rediscover their power. So I remember getting the crystal necklaces out of my jewelry box and just being like amazed at the energy they were giving off. Sadly, I don't have any of those necklaces anymore. One of them ended up staying at an ex's house, and the other one I literally broke in it and it got lost. So it was kind of sad, but I genuinely think crystals travel and choose who they want to be with. My very first crystals were selenite and amethyst. So as I'm working with these crystals, I'm also getting deeper into meditation, learning about chakra healing and different things. I came across the world of the crystal community online, whether it was Etsy shops, Instagram, Facebook. I just came across a bunch of different crystal sellers and crystal influencers. As I followed their journey, I started to realize that me and crystals had a deeper connection than what I originally even anticipated. My love for crystals went deeper than my love for tarot, astrology, even meditation. Crystals were just something that felt very natural to me. So one thing led to another. At this time, I was working full-time as a makeup artist for a makeup brand inside of Macy's. I was a sales rep, just kind of doing my everyday thing in the retail world. I was very successful at this job, actually getting promoted quickly, being part of a huge makeup counter that was actually making over $1 million a year. So I was very busy with that, and I also was enjoying that job. I wasn't necessarily not enjoying the job. I just knew that there was more out there for me. One thing led to another. I changed friends. I left my toxic relationship, and everything was just changing for me really quickly. I was also at this time running my Kagomes MUA page, which was the makeup page that was doing actually really good. My posts were going viral all the time. However, this time I was ignorant to all the ways of making money online and making money as an influencer, and I was pretty much just getting PR packages, not getting any real gigs or anything. So I was continuing to work retail while pursuing a career in social media that wasn't really going anywhere except for a lot of likes and some PR packages. And I decided that I wanted to start a spiritual business. I wasn't sure if I was just gonna do straight content, if I wanted to sell crystals, if I wanted to just sell metaphysical stuff. I wasn't really sure what to do yet. But I decided I'm going to do a lot of research, just research. And during this time, I was researching drop shipping, researching wholesale vendors, researching how to sell online, how to make a living online. And it really hit me all at once. I said, I'm generating over 300,000 for the company that I'm working for. I have really strong social media skills. I have strong selling skills, and I have a passion for crystals. So let's do it. And I like to say that this is my third business because I was doing freelance makeup work. I also started to do lashes and took a lash course, but none of it felt like my passion. It didn't feel like it was me, which was crazy because I had been doing stuff in the beauty world since I was 16. And after a few years of always saying that I was going to be a makeup artist, it almost hurt and was hard for me to walk away and move forward with this new identity, with this new purpose in life. So in 2019, in the summer, I actually came across Instagram live selling. I was following a couple of crystal shops, and I wanted a new way of shopping for crystals that wasn't on Etsy. I wanted to interact more with whoever I was buying from. And I came across Instagram live sales. I started following a lot of big pages. I started joining lives, and it just was very interesting to me that this community was out there and this form of selling was out there. Again, I am a salesperson. I am a numbers person. So to me, this was very, very interesting. I saw a specific shop only had around 20 people in their live sale, and they were selling everything on the table. Granted, these are different times, the markets are different. However, this is just my story, so bear with me if I'm all over the place. It's kind of hard to remember my journey off the top of my head. So as the summer progressed, I just kept studying more and more on how to do live sales. I purchased from a few live sales so I can see how I was being invoiced, and just the whole process and how it made me feel. I really, really liked this, so I knew that this is something I could do because, like I said, I was selling makeup, so me interacting with people was so easy and a no-brainer. So August 2019 came around, and I decided that I was going to launch my Etsy shop and eventually go into live selling on Instagram. Let's rewind a little bit though. While I was learning about all of this, I had my current crystal page that was more so just for attending live sales and learning about crystals and sharing my personal collection. So I was already building an audience as I was knowing that in the future I would turn this into a business page. So August 2019, I decided to launch my Etsy shop. At this time, I was only a sole proprietor. I didn't have my LLC or anything because I wanted to make sure that this is something I really wanted to do before I made it more serious. So I opened up a PayPal business account. I opened up an Etsy shop, and I started to post informative posts on crystals on Instagram. This was all in the form of photos. At the time, there was no reels, nor was I on TikTok or anything like that. So I used the last $100 in my bank account, and I bought around $90 worth of inventory. I got it from a wholesaler, and I got a few items in bulk. It was some soapstone pieces, some palm stones, and a few selenite towers. I added them to my Etsy shop. I really didn't have any expectations. I really didn't know what was gonna happen. I just did it and just went with it. Obviously, things didn't sell right away. I'm pretty sure it took me maybe 2 or 3 weeks to even get my first sale. But once I got that first sale, I was so freaking happy. I literally was ecstatic. Only to have captured someone's trust, to be able to share the love of crystals with somebody else, and essentially be their crystal plug. So I really focused on just growing my social media. It wasn't my first time. I had grown 2 other social media pages before this. And again, I want to emphasize social media was a lot easier in 2019, especially on Instagram when it was nothing but pictures. It was literally easy. But now it's a lot harder with reels and the saturated market. You really have to be a little more unique and stand out. So I continued to grow my page, grow trust, and get to know people. I also did weekly giveaways so that people can get to know me and know the crystals and actually feel them in person. I also started to incorporate story sales because this is something that I saw very popular on Instagram. I started to get monthly sales, then weekly sales, and then it was pretty much every other day. No, it wasn't a lot, but even the little bit that I was making, it was a blessing. And then 2020 hit, and I actually ended 2019 with a huge promotion in my job. I ended up working for the makeup brand directly instead of being inside of the Macy's that I was at. It was so bittersweet. It was something that I had worked a couple years on, but at the same time, this new journey had just started, and I was just so excited to grow that it was really hard to me. It was really hard for me to focus on my new manager position when my heart was really pulling me towards my business. But I went with the promotion anyways. I obviously needed to make a full-time living, and I couldn't replace my job with my business yet. It just wasn't there. Right before the lockdowns happened in February, the company I was working for sent me on a business trip to Orlando. This was really overwhelming for me because one, I'd never been to Florida. Two, I was promoted, so this was a big deal. It was very stressful. And three, I had my business at home, and it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be away a whole week from my shop. While I was in Orlando, I was working all day from 10 to 5, but every day after work, I was just working on my business even while I was there. As I was sitting by the pool at the hotel that I was staying at, I just found myself really missing my business. I found myself thinking about crystals, planning my next sale. I had crystals by me at the pool, and I just remember looking down at them and just telling myself, this is where my heart is. It is no longer here. I no longer wish to grow with this company. I no longer wish to be just working in makeup. I want to pursue this as a career. And again, it was very bittersweet because I for so long was the makeup girl. My family knew me as the makeup girl. Everyone thought that I was going to have a career in makeup. It was just what life was looking like it was for me. But things changed. And it was really hard for me to accept that because I didn't want to lose this identity that I had, but I knew that it wasn't me anymore. And the more I pretended to be who I wasn't, the more I pretended that this was just a side gig or whatever, the more sad it made me. One thing led to another. I truly believe that life chooses your path for you. It's written out. But I got laid off. I got laid off because of lockdowns. And of course, this was like the best thing that could have ever happened to me because now I could focus on my business full time. Luckily, the makeup brand I was working for was still paying us for a few weeks. So I was able to work on my business and have the freedom to do so without worrying financially. So around this time, I also started to do live sales. For those that don't know, live sales are my bread and butter. That is how I sell the most inventory. Even though I have worked hard on my website and I do get weekly sales on my website, when I have a live sale, I still generate more in those 4 hours than I do all week in sales. So I did my very first live sale and it went really great. I wasn't consistent with live sales yet. I was kind of just doing them as I could. And I was really focused on my Etsy at the time and story sales because story sales are really popular for me. So the end of the summer came and I took a vacation with my family to a cabin in Wisconsin. Shout out Vanessa and Steven. And during this trip, I got a phone call from my boss to pretty much telling me to expect to go back to work soon because we were going to come back. Fast forward to October and we went back to work. When I'm telling you this was so hard to do, I was excited to go back to work full time because I miss interacting with people, obviously. But at this point, my business had already started growing so much that it was really hard for me to go back. I was generating weekly income through my live sales. It was now the end of September going into October, and I was generating weekly money consistently doing live sales. So going back to work was so hard. I had developed this whole new routine working on my business every day full time to now going back to work every day from 10 to 7. I remember feeling every morning like I was dying. Literally, you know that feeling, guys, when you're doing something that is just not energetically aligned anymore. You almost feel sick to your stomach. But I decided that I had to do what I had to do. I wasn't going to give up on my business. I still needed my job for the income. Even though I was generating hundreds of dollars every week through my business, it still wasn't enough for me to go full time. And I said to myself, I'm going to replace my work income with my business income, and I will not stop until I do so. So from September until November, I worked my butt off. I woke up every day at 4 a.m. and worked on my business before I went to work at 10 a.m. I worked all the way until 5 or 7 p.m. and continued to work on my business after work. I was working over 12 hours a day and I did not care because I was following my passion. It was not easy at all. I remember feeling so drained, so tired, but I knew that I had goals in mind. So now let's go to November. Obviously, the holiday season is in November. And I remember I was doing weekly live sales after work on Fridays. This is when my Friday live sales started to be very consistent. I decided, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go full time with my business. And I remember it was my Black Friday live sale, and I told myself, if I generate enough money to pay myself what my job is paying me, then I am going to quit. Now, for those that don't know, I follow the 30-30-30 rule. I pay myself 30%, keep 30% for taxes, and use the other 30% to continue to run and operate my business. If you want to learn more, join my Patreon. I talk about business stuff, especially when it comes to crystal shops. Anyway, I exceeded my goal. I literally surpassed it. It was my very first, very successful live sale. I had over 30 people in it. The whole entire table sold. The entire table. It's hard for me now to sell an entire table. Granted, my live sales are a lot bigger, but I just remember feeling so happy. My cousin Vanessa was helping me during this live sale, and I remember her encouraging me to go full time, and me having at least one family member reassuring to me that they could see me doing this really pushed me even more. So shout out Vanessa, I love you. A few weeks passed and I did a couple more live sales, and I knew that I was going to quit my job. At the time, I was thinking about getting a part-time job somewhere. I didn't think that my job would allow me to be part-time because of my position. It was managerial and it was a full-time position. After talking to my boss, she hinted if I wanted to be a part-time freelance makeup artist so I can have some income on the side while I keep growing my business. She's also an entrepreneur, so it was a great idea. Shout out Sarah, we are still good friends today. So I told my boss, aka my friend, that I wanted to go full time, and she told me what steps to take, how to let them know, how to let my bigger bosses know that I was going part-time, etc. So yeah, I started to do freelance part-time. I was only working 2 or 3 days a week, very few hours while I was continuing to grow my business. January hit and I was going to Mexico with family. So I told my boss that I was going to Mexico and I was like part-time or whatever. But I told her like, hey, don't put me on the schedule for January. I'm going to Mexico and the other weeks I'm going to be focused on my business. And when I came back from Mexico, guys, I did not go back to my job. I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop holding on to take those 16, 12 hours that I'm putting into that job and just work more hours in my business. This was obviously very scary. I was 100% self-employed now. And at the time, my only source of income was my business. Luckily, every single month after that, for the entire year of 2021 was continued growth. I surpassed my sales every single month while learning more and creating other sources of income for myself, like my Patreon, content creation, affiliate marketing, and other things. It is now January 2023. I'm still in business. I recently remodeled and upgraded my office. I was running my business from my dad's basement for over 2 years, so it feels really good to have my own place now. So this is just a reminder to everyone out there, whether you want to start a lash business, a hair business, a pen business, or a crystal shop like me, follow your dreams. All it takes is you, your dedication. It is partly the product and it's mainly you and the work you put into it. I genuinely think that you can thrive in any economy, any market, as long as you know how to maneuver through whatever difficulties there are. No, this journey was not easy. There are so many details that I didn't include just for the sake of making this video short and getting to the nook of everything. But yes, there was a lot of challenges, from finding vendors to bank accounts, opening my LLC, finding a bookkeeper, and many other things. This has been one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. I plan on continuing to grow my business. I now even started a wholesale part of my business. My Patreon has grown a lot, where I help other people start their own crystal shops, and I get paid through various other forms creating content. None of this would have been possible if it wasn't for me believing in myself, trusting the process, and following my heart. And even if you start a crystal shop and it ends up being something else, kind of like me with makeup, I used all of those skills that I developed doing makeup to create my business. And who would have known that all those years of me doing Instagram makeup tutorials turned into me now creating content for my business. I can't wait to continue to share more. If you want to know more details about anything, let me know down below in the comments and I'll be sure to make a video on that. I've literally had people beg me to start a YouTube channel doing long form content like this for the last 2 years. A few of my Patreon members have told me that I need to do it. And I know that there is a Q&A floating around on YouTube that actually got a decent amount of views. And I always get asked, when are you going to do your own YouTube channel? So it's finally here and I hope to continue this journey and to see where this takes me. Like I said, I've been creating content for a few years now, so I know that this is also part of my purpose, part of my calling. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, pretty much everywhere. You will find me everywhere. And to all my fellow customers, clients, and people that I have worked with for a very long time, Patreon members, all of that, thank you so much. None of this would be possible without you guys and your support, believing in me, and allowing me to follow my dreams. That's it for today. Kagome out.